Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power of Possibilities podcast, where myself and Heather spread the contagion of consciousness using the tools of Access Consciousness. Welcome. And today our topic is all about taking the leap.
Oh my gosh, how much fun can we have with this one?
I'm sure we can have too much fun. In fact, if you go on the Access side, I was just saying before we went live, Dain had a class called Just Effing Leap. I don't want to say the actual word because I don't want the algorithm to like blacklist us or anything like that. But it was an amazing class. And it's not just about stepping into being you. I think taking the leap on a smaller scale is just like trusting your knowing and like acting on it, choosing to act on that. But so many times we have a knowing and then we talk ourselves out of it and we don't take that leap. And that is the biggest thing that holds us back, is not choosing the things that are going to lead to more ease, joy, and glory in our life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, this has been so much up in my world because I was kind of reflecting on how did I come to choose all this? How did I come to choose taking bars or taking Access Foundation class so many years ago? And the tool that I was playing with, like I had heard Dr. Dain Heer, the co-creator of Access, on a radio program. And the tool that I took away from that experience, that free program he was on, was what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? And what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't choose this? Not as a way of coming to an answer or a conclusion, but really to get an awareness of what will create more space. And so I was just kind of addressing everything in my life at that time. I was using it for everything, no matter how small. And it was really creating a lot for me.
And when you say things really small, Gary gives the example, and Dain kind of criticized him at first until Gary explained it. Like even so much as like, should I chew this piece of gum, right? And Dane's like, really? Exactly. You're gonna ask, should I, how does my life feel in 5 years? He's like, well, what if you would have choked on the gum? And this is something like, as you start to ask the question, how does my life feel in 5 years? You almost start to get an automatic knowing before you even ask the question. You kind of get a sense of what choices are going to create the possibility. So if you could do 3 days of asking for everything, and maybe not everything, let's be realistic, days are busy, but if you could really just sit down and start asking, what would my life be like in 5 years if I choose this, if I choose this, if I choose this, just doing it for as much as you can throughout the day, you start to get that sense automatically about what is going to create more. And now if you ask the question, and this is how I love starting like my days, like what energy could I be today to have more of me than any day before? And you're sending that energy out into the universe. And what you're going to find is you're going to just notice things that pop up in your day that match that energy of that original statement of the morning. And then you start to, using that tool, well, if I do choose this, how does my life feel in 5 years? And that's kind of like your what's the word I want to use? Just like, just checking
your
to make
compass,
sure that
it's
your compass. So this is you're noticing this because it matched the energy. You asked a question, you feel that it's going to be greater in 5 years. And that combination of setting the tone for the day and then choosing what shows up that matches that question is like a triple win scenario.
Oh yeah. And I mean, then everything just becomes this kind of magical adventure of, wow, what's this choice going to create? Because what if there's no right choice or wrong choice? What if every choice is actually going to bring us more awareness? And as Hank was talking about, more of us, more of who we actually are and what we'd really like to create.
Yeah. And there's a book that I read that one time said, like, all of life is really like a meditation or awareness, and everything in your life is just events, and you get to choose to label them how you like. And in Access, we try not to label anything. We don't want to label things as good or bad or right or wrong. It's just an awareness, and you get to choose who you're going to be in creationship to what shows up. And if you do it in that way, you're taking the whole thing of being in polarity and duality off the table. And that's where we have this shift into really being in the world, but not of it, because you're not getting caught up with the polarities. And how much more ease would we have if you just think of the most polarizing issues we have in the world? How much more ease would you have if all that polarization was set to the side and you could just choose? And choose based on what's going to create more for your life. Because we choose so many things based on other people's points of view about what's right or wrong. We're not even choosing for us. We're choosing for what I like to call paradoxical ease of the other person's point of view about us. And really, what if we started really focusing on what's going to create more in our own lives?
Totally. And I mean, I love how access consciousness defines consciousness, which is that it includes everything and judges nothing. And that's such a beautiful invitation to some of the things that maybe we've defined as not okay or not right, that would actually work for us, would actually create more for us, and in doing so create more for the world.
Right. And if you can really be in the space of allowance and
Yeah.
non-judgment, your field of awareness, let's call it, if you want to call it energy term, you call it aura or anything, just field of awareness, like your immediate field of awareness. If you can have allowance of everything coming into that field with no judgment, things literally move through it. It's like it's like Teflon. Shit hits, but it doesn't stick. It doesn't get into your field because you don't have the labels and the judgments that end up polarizing and ending up having it be more part of your world than it really needs to be. That's where I love the sayings, be the hollow bone, be in the world but not of it. If you can really have that, and then it's so much easier to choose things for you. And that's what taking the leap is all about. Like when you're taking the leap and taking a chance on you being you, if you were really just honed in on only choosing things that would allow you to express your unique voice in this world, your authentic self, and let's be real, if you read Dr. Dain's book, Being You, Changing the World, what if the greatest gift you could be to the world is to be your 100% authentic self? What a disservice to the world if you're getting caught up in the polarity and duality. So I invite everybody to start taking like the little leaps that are going to end up leading to the big leap where you can truly be you in the world and not care what people think of what that looks like.
I know. And for so many people watching, like, does that just seem like a massive leap to stop caring about what people think or to stop judging ourselves? I mean, that's really where so much of the world functions right now. And access consciousness has so many amazing tools to create beyond that. And the one that, we invite people to in almost every show is access consciousness bars, because you really get an experience of laying down on a massage table or wherever you get your bars run and just being able to receive and to receive the space of who you are beyond all the judgments, all the polarity, all the unconsciousness and anti-consciousness. And it's a real, I had so many bar sessions over the weekend because I was attending a class, and it was so much fun to just receive and to swap bars with different people. And it just creates a totally different, beautiful space. And really, I mean, my demand after that is, what would it take for the whole world to be that? And what would it take for everyone who is truly seeking this possibility to be able to find it and choose it with ease?
Right. And when we all start doing that, I'm going to steal another line from Dain. That's where we're going to shift from being in the kingdom of me to being the kingdom of we. Because if we're all supporting each other to be our authentic voice, that's when we're really going to change the world. And I just posted,
Yeah.
you mentioned access bars. There are, well, one, this is Suicide Awareness Month for access. Or I think it's for
Yeah.
everybody, but
For
access,
everyone, for the world.
yeah, it's for everybody. Like everybody wants to be aware of it. But because of that, like access makes a lot of additional things available for all the access bar facilitators to have different events around that. So if you go to accessconsciousness.com under the events, there's like bars nights, there's like all kinds of different taster classes, and you can kind of take a look and see what might be in your area. We always do a bars night on the first Thursday of every month. I did put a link in the comments just now. This is specifically to Heather's classes. Now she's in Maryland, but she is doing a lot of classes in October here in Cleveland. So like if you want to check out some of the things that Heather has going on, there is a link in the comments. And from there, you could also just look up wherever you are in the neck of the, whatever your neck of the woods is. I guarantee you there's some sort of access classes around you, or so much is available virtually now. Just like we do these streams at least once a week where we're bringing all these different tools to spread the contagion of consciousness to you. There's all kinds of, there's a plethora of information out there. All you need to do is start learning a tool or two and implementing them. And once you have them implemented, they can become second nature. And then you learn another tool. And then that becomes second nature. Then you learn another tool. And it really has this spiral of possibility effect that can really change your life very quickly if you just start to focus. Really, it's about showing up. You're starting to show up and consciously choose instead of reacting through life. You're consciously choosing. And that's where you really get into that slingshot and start really accelerating your growth and potential.
Yeah, and I mean, one really cool thing, do you want to hear a cool thing that's coming up that could assist anyone who's looking to take a massive leap? And this is open to everyone, and it's incredibly expensive. It is $0. On it's on the 12th, and you can find it on the Access Consciousness website. It's Dr. Dain Heer is doing a free big ESB session for Suicide Awareness Month. Everyone's invited, no prereqs. Come experience a taste of it's ESB, it stands for Energetic Synthesis of Being. And so it's an invitation to be everything that we're talking about here, stepping into more of you. And if you are one of those people who's been like, wow, where, you know, what would I like my life to be? Where are the possibilities here? What else is possible for our world? Then this may just be for you. So come check it out. It's free and open to anyone.
And I just grabbed the link from when you sent it to me before. So I just am posting that in the comments. So wherever you're watching from, if you're on Periscope or Twitch, like for some reason the comments are going through, but any of the Facebook destinations and YouTube, there is going to be a link in the comments to go and register for that. And like Heather said, it's free. And it was one of those during foundation class that completely shifted my life, because I had and we're going to talk about this a lot more as we approach October. We'll talk to the entities, but I had a dual occupant. And for people who don't know, so the body is like the puppet or the Waldo that we have. And I was I had my being, but there was somebody who died in third grade, and they were like co-occupying my body for a really long time. And I didn't know. I'm a medium, so I just thought I'm like talking to, this girl that I knew from third grade, and she just, was hanging around a lot, but she was actually co-occupying with me. And it was during like one of these ESCs we had some things in foundation first that kind of set the tone. And it was during that it was this awareness, like, oh my gosh, I'm not the one for you. You need to go. And I had silence in my head for the first time. So literally you can get a lot of different things out of these energetic synthesis of being events. And the only thing that stops you from receiving is your point of view. So if you can go in with an open mind, you can really have life-changing things from any of these.
Totally. And I was recommending it to someone who I recently met who's interested in possibilities and has done no access. And I was like, well, maybe the only thing I wouldn't recommend is maybe listening while driving, because I know a couple of these that I've attended recently have totally knocked me out. And you actually get just as dynamic a change, maybe not more, when your body is just in total relaxation. And it still goes in, sometimes even deeper. So that's the beauty of access classes too.
I love that you just said that, because one thing I have a telenovela of a horror story from trauma and drama in my life. And I had dealt with it from the mental aspect and like a lot. I had dived into it and did a lot of clearings around it. But what my awareness is that there was still like the cellular memory and the trauma and drama held in the body itself. So like there's the mental component, but being able to get on a table, have your bars run, or other energy access processes, like there's zero sum of trauma, which is awesome. MTVSS, which is awesome. There is biomimetic mimicry, like any place that you're emulating your parents or friends who imprinted you with something. Like, what if you're not really like them, and it's just something you learned, and that can be all changed with an energy process. So like, note that the body and the being are two separate things, and we sometimes focus so much in the being that the body is neglected. And what would it take for you to really bring the two together and start functioning in totality as the you came to be? And when you do that, now you really can take a leap, because you're doing it with all of you, not just the being part of you. Because the body, you got to bring the body along for the ride, right?
Totally. And I mean, that was one of, I would say, the most surprising things about Access Consciousness for me, and what was so different than anything I'd been doing before. Because I'd been doing a lot of things where it was about kind of transcending the body, or seeing the body as a wrongness instead of as a beautiful, conscious co-creator, and something to a way to enjoy being here on this planet even more dynamically. And that's what was so amazing about foundation, is that I learned these body processes, and now I get to facilitate that for people. You learn these processes in that class that can really melt the things that Hank are talking about, the judgments, the conclusions, the points of view, yours or anyone else's, that may be locked in your body, or creating your body in a way that isn't comfortable, or creating ease for you. And so there's the foundation class, or there's, a really amazing experience, which is another leap, which is going to a 3-day body class and having 3 whole days of those beautiful energies.
No, I'm so sad. I missed two. I had the body classes at the center, one with Andrew Gardella, and he picked the weekend of the expo, so I totally couldn't be there. And then Sean
Mm.
Phillips hosted one at the center, and it was the same weekend that I was at something else. So I had two literally right underneath me, and I missed both. So I'm going to have to just do a road trip and like end up getting the 3-day body class at some point. The other thing, when we're talking about the body, one thing I loved from your How to Become Money workbook is you asked a question: if you didn't have a body, would you need money?
Yeah.
And the awareness is, well, no, I don't. So what if the purpose of money is to nurture, care for, and give experiences to the body? I think we sometimes might become a little bit more willing to receive when we realize that, it's not just, it is something specific for us being here right now. There's enough to go around. And really, what if you were to use the tool of money to start nurturing the body, and the body then and the being start working together? You can do so much more. And the other question I love is, can you change the world more with money or without? Of
Yeah.
course, with money. And these are things that I'm saying just to start reframing, because sometimes we don't have the confidence in ourselves to take the leap, or we don't feel that we're deserving or that we're worthy. But when we're starting to ask these questions, well, maybe money is a good thing. And maybe we can get over the ideas that money's the root of all evil, and start really being willing to receive, and also willing to give, and put that energy back into the world to start facilitating and creating change. It is an amazing shift. And we just had Mike just tuning in saying, what else is possible here? Absolutely. Thank you, Magic Mike, for tuning in.
Yeah. What else is possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm so grateful that you brought in that topic of what's nurturing to the body, because I mean, that was when I first started Access. That was a huge leap for me. Was like, actually, I just remember my first foundation. Gary was like, I took my first foundation with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and he was telling people, like, ask your body, what would your body like to eat? What would your body like to wear? What would your body like to do tonight? I mean, including my body in the equation was such a leap for me. It was so different. And that has really transformed things. Because what if your body has consciousness and awareness that could actually contribute to greater possibilities for you? And what if you could work together to create something greater?
Yeah. And Dr. Dain Heer, who's one of my favorite authors, my favorite book is Being You Changing the World, but his most recent book is Body Whisperer, I think, or Body Whispering. I forget now which was correct. But the whole book goes into opening up the dialogue and the communication and communion with the body, because it's like one thing to start asking the body, but what if you start asking the body enough questions where the communication now goes both ways, and the body's telling you things without having to ask? And I just know for myself, I ended up going plant-based, and granted, not everybody, I was treating my body very poorly. I was eating lots of crappy stuff. So my body's like begging for a detox. And then one day I'm making my avocado toast, and my body's like, no more gluten. And I cut that out, and I feel great. And what it was is my body was on overload because I started eating all these vegan substitute things. It's all pure gluten. And it's not that I can't eat bread forever, but if every day I start asking my body, what do you require? My diet shifts every day. I have different cravings, pineapple and pistachios. Maybe I want the avocado, maybe asparagus. But if you start really having that dialogue, you'll be amazed at, well, when I started exercising suddenly, because my body's like, yo, you need to get with the program. So I've been running and doing other things. And it's just really refreshing. And when you're working together, instead of feeling that the body's working against you or betraying you when it's not doing what you'd like, there really is this effortless blending and merging. And you start having a communion, and things start shifting in your world that you didn't even realize something was off until you start having this dialogue.
I know. I mean, I never realized that, I was maybe choosing some things that my body didn't enjoy, and not choosing as many of the things that it would enjoy. I mean, a good example is this morning. I was like, body, what would be nurturing to you? And I ended up doing another lap around the running course that I did. And I'd had this point of view that, as soon as I did one lap, I was done. And my body was like, nope, we'd like more time here in the woods, more, this is nurturing. I mean, so we have these points of view, we buy these points of view, and really, what would your body like? What would actually nurture your body?
Bringing it back to taking the leap, what if the leap for everyone today is just to start to ask and be the question for change?
Yeah.
You don't have to go from 0 to 100% of being you. All you need to do is desire to be you more than you don't. That's called the rule of 51%. All you need to do is to desire more of you in the world, to be more of you in the world than you don't. And that is enough to start asking questions and to start showing up and to start taking actions and being different in the world. That's going to start allowing you to not just be you, but to express you into this world, because we all have these amazing gifts that have the potential to change the people around us and ultimately change the world. And we're just really holding back because we were taught to empower other people's judgments about us over our own knowing about us. And so just everything that brings up, destroy and uncreate it, right, wrong, good and bad, body, pop, all that choice plus beyonds. That's the leap. Just choosing to be you instead of choosing to be what people would like you to be.
Well, and I mean, we've been talking this whole time about, little leaps, big leaps. Like Hank just ran the clearing statement there. That's one leap you can make, is to start playing with that tool of access consciousness, because it's about clearing energies away that are creating a limitation. And I mean, one of the easiest ways to even use that is when something keeps coming up and you don't have a good answer for what it is. Okay, everything that this is and everything that allows this to exist, I now destroy and uncreate it all. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds.
And here's one of my favorites. This is the mantra of access. We bring it up a lot, but it's
Yay.
all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. 10 times in the morning, 10 times at night. Anytime you hit a stop sign or a red light, say this. And you're putting this out to the universe, that all of life comes to you with ease, joy, and glory. And that doesn't mean that bad stuff, quote unquote, I'm saying bad in air quotes here. It doesn't mean stuff that you don't prefer to show up, stop showing up. They say that the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it can come with ease, joy, and glory. And so this is really one of those monumental things. Just saying this and start to shift your mindset, everything is going to come a lot more easily to you in life. And when the bad things happen, you can get over them a lot faster and choose something different.
So I'd be curious, per this topic of taking the leap, what's a time when you took a leap and used an access tool that changed something?
Just recently, my wife has become very open to processing. And like before, like I would
Cool.
before I would like try to use processing and it would be like it wasn't really well received. But then I took a leap and I was like, well, this is something that could really create a change here. And now we'll go on a walk and something might be coming up for one of us or both of us or whatever the case is. And then we are just processing while we're going around doing laps across the street in the development. There's this beautiful pond with a paved path around it. And it's just, it's like taking a leap like that. When you hear something that just doesn't make sense, having the willingness to even ask a question, well, what else is possible there? Because how many people, here's the big thing, everybody take this leap. Every time you want to ask why, stop yourself, take a step back, and instead ask what else is possible. Because why is a looping question, and you just tell the universe, give me another experience of the why, and it gives you another experience of the why. But if you start to say then what else is possible here, you just might create a shift and something else will show up. And that is a great little thing to start shifting the mindset that creates the things that we don't look to show up in our life. And then of course, Magic Mike gives us another one. How does it get any better than that? Does it
get any better? Yeah.
So 3 access tools, the mantra, how does it get any better than this? And what else is possible? Those 3 things right there are things you can incorporate into every day to start changing these things and creating more possibilities in your life for you to receive and express yourself.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it is. How about you, Heather? What's a good time that you took a leap? Well, using a tool of access.
Well, I just sent this out I put it on my business page and on Facebook and I sent it out to my newsletter list. For me, taking the foundation the first time was a leap, because it wasn't even mentioned in my first bars class that this was a possibility. I had no information about it. I just asked the question, what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? And what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't? And I left. And I mean, that year it was in Rome. So it was like, it was a little bit more of a leap, like across, a longer flight or whatever. But I went, and it was weird, and it was wild, and I loved it, and it seemed to be everything that I had been asking for and even more. And sure, there were moments when I was like, wow, this is wow. And I have been so grateful ever since. And, every time I take a leap like that, like I just got back from the Symphony of Possibilities class with Dain this past weekend, and that was a leap. It was like, if I get on this plane, I know everything's going to change. And it really did. It really did.
Yeah. And, you mentioned foundation. I want to bring that up too. Deanna, who took the foundation the last time, it was a leap for her. And I had been talking about foundation for years. She finally took it. And I just want to read, because she made a post on her Facebook just yesterday, I believe. And Jennifer Napier made a post, a comment under her profile. She said, very interesting. Thank you for sharing. I might have mentioned this to Hank. I've mentioned it to Joe several times, but you just sort of bloomed after foundation. You seemed brighter and more outgoing and confident. You seem to get more and more beautiful every time I see you. Truly, and although we're all of those things before, it was as something lifted a veil off of you, and the world is witnessing you growing into yourself. How very special to witness this transformation with you. I don't know too much about this, and you may be the third or fourth person, but we're going into like the topic of the post. But the point is, like, Deanna took the leap, and everybody around her is noticing that since foundation, she's just showing up differently in the world, and things are happening and creating way more possibility in her life and the lives of those around you. Gary Douglas talks about it. Like, if you are a connector, every time you eliminate a point of view, you're like impacting all the people around you. They're starting to get free of that same point of view as you shift. So really, like, as you implement these tools, it's kind of like this ripple effect going out, that all the people you touch are getting a benefit from you doing the work on you. And this was just a great example of how she's showing up and changing the lives of everyone around her.
Oh, I'm so grateful to hear that. That's really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah. So, wow, we've been going already for 27 minutes. Like, where does the time go? We were planning to stream for like 15 minutes. But this is, if you guys have questions, if you want future topics, please let us know. Magic Mike is saying thank you again. Heather, Magic Mike was also in foundation this last time. And on the link that I sent for classes, there is on the 14th, this is the next thing coming up. It's a free taster class on Talk to the Entities. It's going to be on the 14th at 7 p.m. You can register on the link that I sent with all of Heather's classes coming up. And what do you have to lose? Take the leap. It's 45 minutes of access tools and things that may just shift your life, and an invitation for choosing more. So what else is possible? And what would it take for you to choose you and a possibility instead of choosing judgment and kind of staying where you're at?
Yeah. And how much fun can you have with it? I mean, that's what I've loved about Access all along, is that every time I've taken the leap, where it just seems like even this past weekend, like just going to this class where I had no idea what it was going to be like, what my life was going to be like after, it was just so undefined. And these choices that almost seem crazy or irrational to other people, but we just know and we leap. And I'm so grateful I chose it. I mean, I just thank you, Dr. Dain Heer. Thank you, Gary Douglas. Thank you, universe. Because wow, I mean, the magic, the fun, the joy. Oh, how did we get so lucky to have this stuff?
And once you make the choice, I'm bringing this up, and I'm going to give two examples because it's so important. If you have a knowing, like say you know that Talk to the Entities is for you, or you know that, like for me, I did a 2-year program at Lilydale, and I had no clue how I was going to pay for it. I signed up, and the money came. Mike, he was saying, he's been the one commenting here, he signed up for foundation, and he actualized all the money he needed before class to take it. And so I'm just mentioning that because some of these you might look at as an investment, but I would ask this question: what do you need to pay for something that would allow you to receive everything that could be contributed to you? And think about an all-you-can-eat buffet. Like close to us, we have this place called Pickle Bowls. It might be like $60 for all you can eat. And how many more plates of food do you get when you're paying $60 for an all-you-can-eat buffet, right? You're just eating as much as you can, right? So know that the classes are priced in a way that you are there's an energy exchange that is occurring, and you are receiving so much more than really the dollar value of the class. But once you choose, the universe takes care of it, because the program I did, it was like $6,000 for like the 2 years, right? And I signed up, no clue, and the money came. Mike signed up, money came. So like, what invitation could you be to make the choice and know and trust that the universe is going to give you opportunities to actualize the things that you need to choose what you're choosing? So I'm just throwing that out there, because that is a really something that we don't look at enough when we're looking at things that we'd like to take or do to contribute to ourselves.
Yeah, and it actually was something that Dain was talking about in the the SOP this past weekend, is, how much do we use money as a reason and justification for not choosing something? Like and everywhere we do that, can we just destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because we talk about it in the foundation class, and it's in the more advanced classes of Access, that what if your choice creates, like those examples that you gave there, the choice was first, and you didn't have a path defined of like how you were going to fund this, and the universe showed you the way. And it's so beautiful when that shows up, and that acknowledgement, like you acknowledging that you chose first, and then the universe supported you. Mike chose, the universe supported him. How does it get better than that? And just acknowledging that if we can choose like that, these things, what else can we choose that the universe can support us?
And Mike makes a really good distinction here. He put down make a demand. And I want to give one example.
Thank you for that.
This is not, when we say question, sometimes it's not a question, it's a declaration. It's a declaration of what you're choosing and your will to the universe. And I'll give you an example.
I'm having this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. This is what I'm choosing. My son Max came up to me once and he said, "Daddy, can I have some chocolate?" And I said, "No." And he's like, "Oliver has some chocolate." I'm like, "Oliver didn't ask." He's like, "I get it." And then he just went over and helped himself to the chocolate. If you don't like, so that in that type of question, like, "Universe, may please have this," you're acknowledging that the answer might be no, and that's bullshit. The only answer the universe ever has when you're making a demand is yes. So like, what demand could you be? What invitation could you be to have the universe bring you the things that you're really choosing to have in your life? And if you have that type of congruency when you make that demand to the universe, like what happened with Mike, what happened in my case, what happened, I'm sure, many times in your life, the universe says yes. You just don't want to let the ego talk you out of it. Like, "Oh no, you say I don't, now what are we going to do?" Like, you have to stay the course and continue to demand and be consistent with your demands to the universe, and it will actualize 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the How to Become Money Workbook series, and it's been so fun creating those with you. This past year, and in that book by Gary Douglas is mentioned exactly what we're talking about. How many of you guys, you ask, you request, it doesn't show up instantaneously, so you go into the conclusion of like, well, it hasn't shown up yet, so this must not be working, or it's not going to happen, or I can't do it. And like Hank was saying, staying the course, being this, what they call in that book, the control of knowing that you've asked. Now you just have to lower the walls, the barriers, and be willing to receive. And if we can take time out of the equation,
Yeah.
right? Because knowing that it will show up, that's the knowing. Like, it may not occur instantaneously, though it could. And so, everywhere you have concluded that it's not going to show up because you put time into the equation, we could destroy and uncreate all of that.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
I love that. And one more example of this. At the last bar share, we had a record turnout. We had like so many pre-registrations. We had walk-ins, and that's kind of a joke for another day. We had walk-ins and we had walk-ins. But like, when everybody was there, I just stood up and I said, "Welcome everybody. If you haven't been here before, this is all just, love donation. We split the money at the end of the night. But here's the question I would ask yourself. What amount could you contribute as a donation that would allow you to receive everything that you have the potential of getting from your practitioner?" And we brought in hundreds of dollars. Like, normally it might be 60, like people, like some people would give a couple bucks, like people were giving like 40, $50 after having asked that question. And so I'm just throwing that out as another example, like when you really are looking at, because we have this idea of an energy exchange, what exchange do you require in order to receive everything you can get out of something? And I raised my prices as a practitioner a while back, and I've been busier than ever, and people have had more change in out of the sessions. And it's because they're paying more for the session, they're willing to receive more from the session. It's kind of a weird paradoxical thing, but there's really something to it. So start asking yourself that. And if you do the work like me and Heather do, ask yourself, what would I need to charge for people to receive everything that I could contribute to them? Though it goes both ways.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. So Heather, what about, because we're going 35 minutes, so that's great. But what
oh my gosh, talk about time. Like,
I know.
Wow.
What about a final thought and or clearing around taking the leap to have everybody, to give people the fuel that they need to really go for gusto and step into their possibilities?
So what's the leap that you could choose today that you've been refusing but totally aware of, that if you would choose it would change your life and that of everyone you touch, and everything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyond.
So that's a great note to end on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will probably be back on next Wednesday-ish, I do believe. And until then, please stay aware. And if you could help spread the contagion of consciousness by liking this video, by sharing this video, by inviting your friends to watch this video, we would be ever so grateful. And that in and of itself is a huge contribution. What energy could you be to help us? And we thank you in advance for everything that you can do. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll see you on the 14th if you come for the free. Oh.
Yeah, truly. It's a free taster. You have nothing to lose. I highly recommend you sign up for the 45-minute Zoom call for a taster of Talk to the Entities. And just about receiving too, final thought, like what if there is a whole, we call them spirit team or teammates in Access, like spirit guides in New Age world, right? But your teammates, like that are desiring to contribute to you, like what invitation could you be to really receive everything that they could do for you? Because I bet that most of us maybe are using what's available to us, maybe 1% of it. And like how much more could you open up the door to receiving from the infinite possibilities from all the support you have around you? Food for thought. And we can dive more into that next Tuesday on the Talk to the Entities Taster Call. It's free. Please do yourself a kindness and choose it. I can't make you choose it. But really, ask yourself, if we started the stream with this, ask yourself, if you take the class, how does your life feel in 5 years? If you don't take the class, how does your life feel in 5 years? Let that be your guiding compass to see if maybe this just might create a possibility or two of your life. All right, everyone. For real, we're leaving this time. Thank you so much for your contributions, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Thank you.